Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started the Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. Afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and to share their experience and knowledge with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on. Hi guys, I'm here with Lubomir Vladikov. It's gonna be a very interesting episode, like always. Lubo, thank you for joining, man. Thank you for joining the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome, Danny. It's nice to be here. I have to say, I really like your topic. I've myself, even as a student, I've already thought about this topic a lot. So it's awesome that now we finally have a podcast on this. So thumbs up, all the best.
Absolutely, thank you, and I'm really thrilled to have you here. It's gonna be an awesome episode because you have a pretty good example to share. So the podcast is gonna be focused on three main questions: What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you knew that this is the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living.
Yeah. So what I do for a living and how I got here is a long story.
I know we got time. Don't worry about it.
I'm a pharmacovigilance manager with PPD, now part of Thermo Fisher Scientific. Essentially, as I assume many people probably don't know what pharmacovigilance is, it's drug safety. We work in the pharmaceutical industry, and we essentially help improve patients' lives and help deliver medicines faster and safer on the market. Whether we work on clinical trials or post-marketing, uh, in the post-marketing setting. Yeah, that's essentially what we do in our department.
It's not only interesting but also pretty important. This is one of the fields that people can't actually afford to make a lot of mistakes. It's not like you're an accountant who didn't calculate something properly. That's a whole other story. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and as far as my academics, that's the interesting part probably. So I think you may know I've studied foreign languages, German specifically. So once I became 18, I moved to Germany, and I was actually
That's actually more for a little bit for a second question. How'd you get there?
yeah, exactly.
Right on. So go on, shoot.
I got enrolled into Mannheim University, and Mannheim University in Germany is like the top school in economics, business administration, topics like that. But it wasn't really for me, as it turned out, as my results showed. Um, a lot of people that I met there, now these were awesome experiences and all that, but they were really prepared. Like they knew 5 6 years in advance, essentially as soon as they started high school, that's what they're going to do. That's the direction in which they're going to develop.
I'm definitely not having them on the podcast in that case.
Yeah, I'm the other example. I'm not like that.
Nah,
So
everyone's welcome.
because we started talking about accounting and law and financial mathematics. Nowadays, I find these topics interesting, but back then, I wasn't ready for that. It definitely wasn't my passion. So after 2 semesters, I decided to drop out and pursue what I really found interesting, which is psychology. I moved to Frankfurt in Germany, and then I started uh, studying psychology. Um, yeah, so fast forward many years, I came back to Bulgaria, and I started working in a call center with my German language and skills. A bit after that, maybe a year and a half later, I was just talking with a friend of mine, and they let me know about PPD and what a great company that is and what they do. So it was more scientific. It was again a contact center type of work, but more scientific. So you would work with patients, you would work with healthcare professionals. And I found this really, really interesting. I applied. The next day I received an offer. So it was a really nice, quick recruitment experience for me. And yeah, that's when I started with PPD, 2015. Since then, 3 years later, I progressed to a manager role in medical communications. It was a really busy period. We implemented a lot of new clients. We recruited a lot of new people. Essentially, we grew the team to be a really sizable force in Europe. Really exciting times, busy, but also times that I learned a lot from. And then in 2020, I decided to move to a pharmacovigilance role, again, a management role in pharmacovigilance. And I'm really, really happy to be part of this team.
First of all, it's always good to hear that somebody's busy. Because to be honest, people at our age, younger, and to be honest, a little bit older, shouldn't be staying in one place. As far as I'm concerned, people should really be busy at least the first 15 years when they start a job, because this is how you build a character. This is how you learn. This is how you grow. I honestly never liked Elon Musk, for my personal reasons, of course, but he said something really remarkable. First 5 years of the job, you have to work at least 12 hours a day, not 8, 12, 14, 15. And when you do it for 5 years, you basically like having 10 years of experience compared to your peers. So that was a pretty good advice. I actually followed it. So it sure is a remarkable thing, not to mention it teaches you how to value time. When I created the Twitter and the Gap pages of the channel, I had to put brief description, so I couldn't use a lot of words. And in all fairness, the only fair description that I was able to think about it is that time is the only resource we can't afford to lose, because we really can't. We can afford to lose money, stuff, friends, relatives, etc., etc. But in all fairness, if we lose time, it actually backfires a lot. So I'm very happy to hear that you're busy. And the third question is a little bit off. How did you knew that this was the way to go? I placed this question last because so far I have never received a same answer from anyone on this show. So it's and the reason I'm asking is because, like you said, there were people back then, and of course there were people back then when I was a student that were very aware of why they're in the university and what they want to do. Actually, I was one of them. I was in high school when I basically had it all figured out. But there are a lot of those who didn't. And I'm not against universities. I'm not against academia. You're right about another thing, that it is pretty fun time. It's pretty good time. You have a lot of time. You actually get to know a lot of people from different places, different cultures, which is also a rich experience. No argument there. My problem with the academic study is that lately, at least from what I've been seeing, and this isn't only in Europe, this is worldwide, people tend to go into the colleges and university immediately after high school. So what do we have? We have about 24, 25-year-old young people who don't have the already needed work ethics, experience, practical understanding, or even basic experience of how things work. We literally have 25-year-old people who don't know how to do their own taxes, which is crazy. But it's worldwide, and this is actually why I started the whole channel. It's not like I'm against academia or anything. I just wanted to highlight the fact that lately they haven't been doing a pretty good job over there. So this is why I wanted to ask you, how did you knew that this was the way to go? You're not only a manager, you're also something else. You have something of your own going on. I'd like to hear about that as well.
Yeah, I also started to pursue a passion in photography, and not to the point where it's a proper side hustle kind of business or anything, but I do enjoy it a lot. And that's something, like you said, I like what you said about Elon Musk. The first 5 years were really a hard grind for me, really just working. And eventually I became aware that, you can also enjoy other aspects. You can pursue your hobbies, and that's also a really strong benefit in our company. We have an excellent work-life balance, so that it's awesome that I can pursue. I actually lead courses in photography within my company to a couple of departments, so I teach people how to do photography. That's something, I enjoy a lot, and I'm sure others as well. How I knew, to be fair, I didn't. I've always led my life not so structured. I kind of have my own view in life, and I guess based on hunch or a sequence of hunches that led me from one place to another, and I guess luck as well. for the way that I found about my current company, PPD, is from a friend of mine. She told me. So if it wasn't for her, would I have known now? Who knows? No one knows. So there always, that's what I believe. There are always these like nuances and hunches. And in your example, and other people, they know from the start what they want to do, which courses to enroll, how to study it, and so on. So that's amazing. I celebrate that. Which way is better? I don't know. As long
I
as
don't think there is such a thing as a better way. And the reason I'm saying is because, yeah, it's good to know what you want and to go for it, but it's also good to open a few doors that aren't for you, because you get that experience and later on it turns into a gut feeling, like you know that this door is not for you. So because you've already opened a few doors that weren't for you, so you kind of already have it. And folks that are just walking the straight and narrow don't really have that kind of an experience. I mean, I had received that experience later on in my career, but that was for a couple of months, and it was a setback, no question about it. But it was that's why I'm saying I don't think there's good or bad about either of those, because sometimes it's better to have a setback as a student instead of later in your life when you're an adult, you have loans, family, children. You know, it's better to get it out of your system when you're younger. So I don't think there is such thing as a right or wrong answer here.
yeah.
And how did you start the whole photography thing? First of all, it's as far as I know, maybe you can correct me because I know very little of photography. Actually, the only thing that I know is that you have to use a camera. I don't know anything else about that. So how did you start about that? Because as far as I know, it's not a cheap hobby. It's the equipment have to be top notch, and those aren't cheap. Even if you get a secondhand camera, I've seen the prices; they weren't cheap. So
Yeah.
what actually drew you to that thing?
Well, the money part wasn't such a big factor. I mean, it wasn't an issue because I really developed a passion. It actually started with aerial photography, drone photography. A while ago, I saw all these awesome images from above, and I thought, okay, time to get a drone. So I got the DJI Mini 2, and I started exploring different parts of our country, of the Balkan Peninsula, Greece, for example, and I really enjoyed it. Back then, I didn't know much or anything about photography. I saw a couple of parameters within the drone, and it's not the best drone, so it doesn't allow you the full functions of like a proper camera to play with the aperture, with the shutter speed, the ISO. You could basically just play around with the ISO and a few other functions. But this started slowly to burn like a passion of mine. And then later on, developed into proper photography as well. My brother has been doing this for the past 20, 25 years. So it's not like I didn't have a role model or someone that I knew to help me out in this regard. So it definitely gave me a lot of good advice, you know, what camera to opt in for, what lenses to buy, etc. And yeah, I can tell you it's not cheap, definitely.
No,
but it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you enjoy, there are always you can always acquire anything nowadays. There are all these leasing plans and whatnot. So if you want something, if it's your passion, and if you feel happy with it, just go for it.
not to mention, it's definitely one of those professions that are doable if you have the passion. And you already said you already have it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been done it. It's one of the few professions that you really have to like your job. You can't be a lousy photographer and do it for the money, because it doesn't work like that. You have to be pretty good and then get the money. So it's really one of those professions that you cannot be miserable about it all month and being happy when you see the paycheck, because it doesn't work like that. Same as singers, painters, and artists in general. It's definitely an art. So isn't it funny when you're doing something that you actually love and adore and you have it in you, although that you are going to spend a lot of time on it, because there's no other way, you have to spend time on it, you're not even tired. You are a little bit exhausted because, you know, time passes, but you don't have this weight around your shoulders like when you might feel it in the corporate world, or in an IT sector or something like that, but you can't really have that feeling when you do what you really love, and that's that kind of art. So
And
it's
that
absolutely remarkable.
I wanted to touch base a bit on this as well, because you mentioned, like the corporate world. I do enjoy, believe it or not, I do enjoy nowadays. Like, yeah, maybe the first 1-2 years were a bit difficult as you get to speed and all that. But there is a breaking point. And what I wanted to say, and I wanted to make my point across to everyone is, it's really how you perceive your job. If you believe, you may be on the role for 5, 6, 10 years, and if you think that it's a boring, it's a dull job, you just have to do it, this is going to be your reality, and vice versa. If you find new ways each and every day to be positive, to be imaginative, innovative, regardless of your job, you're going to have an awesome experience. You're going to make your life better, the life of your colleagues and the organization as a whole. So the point that I'm making is about mindfulness. Being mindful of your thoughts and emotions can go a long, long way in your own individual happiness and even career progression. Why not? Everyone loves working with happy, positive people. So whether it's a IT corporate job, I've still met some wonderful, positive colleagues. I consider myself to be one. I think it's an individual path to come to this realization, and I hope more people do it and more people have positive experiences.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more. But in order for more people to have positive experience at the working place, they I don't know about themselves, and well, it's visible that some don't. So this is where the negative part comes from. But I couldn't agree more. You really have to find a way to make your job a little bit more entertaining, and not. If you really think about it, we're the first generation that lives in like the global business. It's like a living organism, right? Because it's so dynamic. It's even now today it's possible. I know people that live in France and have a part-time job in Washington and part-time job in China. So pretty good, right? And the possibilities are endless, and even the sky isn't the limit anymore. We are. And it's really perfect, but you really gotta know yourself, and that's why I wanted you to be on the show, because you're a perfect example for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny.
Don't worry about it. Thank you for being here. And in case you would like to share anything with last words to the viewers or an advice or something like that.
An advice would be, would be probably a cliche to say follow your passion, because like you said, even if you don't follow it, you will notice that this door is not for you, which is again going to be an experience. So everything is like a rolling experience. But I find that if you do follow your passion, if you're conscious and aware about it, you'll get there faster and you'll be happier on the road. So yeah, best of luck to everyone on their own paths, and I hope to speak to you again.
No worries. We're definitely continuing the podcast. We actually have a couple of ideas for additional episodes, so we'll definitely be in touch.
Awesome.
Right on.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Gap, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.